Hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to This Week in Karting. It is episode number 63 on May 16th, 2023. I'm David Cole, joined by Nadine, as we are bringing you all the major news that has hit the EKN homepage over the past week. Again, perfect for listening on the way to work or coming home, whether you're driving around kids to sporting events or to the racetrack, or listening in the shop getting ready for the upcoming race this weekend. Again, download all our podcasts available wherever podcasts are available. All the different platforms. Look up EKN Radio Network, or look up Karting, or look up eKarting News, and you'll be able to find all our podcasts, including This Week in Karting. And this episode, number 63, is presented by Margay Racing. Are you interested in renting a kart at one of the biggest karting events in 2023? Do you want to be part of the fastest growing series in the sport? Check out Margay Racing's Spec Ignite class and their Arrive and Drive packages. Nothing matches the affordability and competitive level of the Ignite program. It's just one set of tires, national level caliber drivers, where the best driver wins over the best equipment. Bring your safety gear and Margay will take care of the rest. This year's Ignite majors include the WK Kart Week Dash at Daytona, the USAC Karting Elkhart Riverwalk Grand Prix, and the Rock Island Grand Prix on Labor Day weekend. And there are 5 Ignite Challenge series running around the country this season. For more information, please visit ignitekarting.com today. Get off the couch and into a race seat in 2023. So Nate, we're just over a week from our last episode, so we're staying true to our word. We're going to try and record one each week. So we're going to move, I think, on Tuesdays now, because you'll be traveling next Monday. And then, of course, we'll have Memorial Weekend after that. So we'll kind of do a show Tuesday after that. So we'll get at least 3 shows in here, or 4, during the month of May. So that's a good record for us going forward, don't you think?
Yeah, with the spotty record we've had over the spring, with just how busy we've been, and some of us being at different events and some of us staying home, just kind of been a bit hard. But I think now that we're really getting into the summer months, that should be a bit more consistent for everyone.
Yeah, so our episode 62 on May 8th, 2023, that included a lot of information because we didn't record a show in April. Shame on us for not doing that. But as you said, yeah, we were busy. You know, I had spring break. You had multiple events. I had multiple events I went to. Rob was at multiple events as well. So a lot going on, to be unable to sit down and get a script together and put some words down and be able to get on the microphone and talk about what's going on in the sport. Well, not much is happening right now since last week's show, but we'll get into a couple of the topics right now. And then we'll get into where to race this weekend. That'll be in our second segment. And then in our third segment, we'll kind of cover what's been happening on EKN itself. So let's start with our first topic, which is the Rock the Park set for July 14th through 16th weekend. So again, this is a special one-off event that FTK Promotions and Andy Seisman has been able to put together. Last year we were there. It was kind of called the California Rock Championship because that was the only event. Unfortunately, it was in Canby, Oregon, which is the site of Pat's Acres Racing Complex. So now it's changed the name to Rock the Park, again, keeping with the ROK theme and the Let's Rock theme with the Challenge of the Americas that Andy promotes. But, special one-off weekends are kind of a good thing because, Nate, you don't have to focus on championship points. It's about going out and being able to perform. And that's something that, again, have fun. And I think that's something that the Rock the Park is really focused on.
Yeah, and you don't get drivers who are either like second, third, or within that top 5 area thinking like, okay, if I can just hold on here, that's a pretty good finish for the weekend. You're going to be wanting to go for that win. There's no real, like you said, no points championship for it. It's an all or nothing race weekend. So it's nice to see that's the kind of same thing you see at Super Nationals, but it should lead to some more invigorated racing.
Yeah, essentially you want to be good in the heat races. That's what, it'll be kind of a FIA CIK format with qualifying heat races on Saturday, and then you get into pre-final and final on Sunday. So that'll be kind of the format of the weekend, including Friday practice all day as well. But the categories are a little bit different from what we've seen at the Challenge thus far. We'll include the Rock Shifter Masters, along with Senior Masters and Junior for the 100cc divisions, and the OKN category making its debut at the Pats Acres Racing Complex. So the Pats is not a stranger to direct drive. You know, we've seen a lot of the ICA back in the day. We also saw Formula Y and a lot of the other direct drive categories that have come up through the sport for a number of years. And so it'll be interesting to see the OKN package there. And, you know, Nate, that's something we've been kind of focused on. You know, Stars Championship just had their first event at the Trackhouse Motorplex for the night fight that they had at 2 weekends ago, essentially. That was the first OKN category or OKN race on the East Coast after the Challenge in Americas had 3 on the West Coast. It'll be interesting to kind of compare the Rock Shifter times to the OKN times when we get to Pat's Acres, because it's a very tight racetrack. So I wouldn't expect to see the OKN performing as well as it does at, say, like Tucson or PKRA or even Trackhouse, where, you know, it wasn't that much slower than the shifter carts there.
Yeah, especially in the opening few rounds of Challenge of the Americas, looking at times between shifters and the OKN carts, it wasn't that big of a difference, like you said. So that should be a bit of a talking point or something to watch. But like you said, with the direct drive, they're not new to their OKN, still being a very new category. Like you said, a couple weekends ago at Trackhouse with the Stars night fight there, Brendan Carr, who went on to win, was praising the category, said it was a lot of fun to drive, saying all you need is a bit more of those top guys in there and we could have a really good category, saying, going as far to say that he thinks this is better than X30. So those are big words coming from him. And hopefully with what we saw at Trackhouse and what we could see this weekend, some more good racing is a real stepping stone for OKN in the States.
Yeah, and OKN actually going to start getting ramped up a little bit more in Europe. I saw with the Italian championships, they're going to be hosting OKN categories this month. So we'll get some more insight into that. But even over there right now, TM seems to be the leading candidate with the most availability in terms of engines and parts. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. But what's different for the Rock the Park event in terms of categories, they're going to include a tag cadet division that'll include both Rock and IAME engines at the same weight. So a little bit of a kind of very similar to what they do up in the Northwest region is they run a lot of the multi-engine categories in tag racing. So we're going to see that for tag cadets, so that it's going to allow drivers with the IAME or the Rock to compete in the mini category. And then also the KZ. That's something that, again, we're kind of focused on what's going to happen in the world of shifter kart racing. Well, KZ is kind of taking over in terms of numbers and the amount of races that it's being offered across the board. You got it, of course, at Superkarts USA Pro Tour. You have it at the United States Pro Kart Series as well. Well, Challenging America is saying, you know what, let's get, if you guys want to double up and run Rock Shifter and KZ, let's do it. Let's see what some of the locals are doing. Majority of the locals are now moving over to the KZ power plants at the Northwest Karting Association Pad Holder Super Cup Series. So, this is a way for the local drivers to kind of take advantage and not have to be forced to race the Rock Shifter if they don't have one. So again, it's the challenge and FTK Promotions is kind of in a balancing act right now in terms of trying to forecast the future. The Rock Shifter program was really big just a couple of years ago. We saw, well over 35 shifter carts regularly for Rock Shifter and Rock Shifter Masters. But now, KZ is kind of getting a foothold once again in North America. We saw that in the past, with ICC. And then KZ now with, being really the lead contender in terms of shifter kart with stock Honda and open mod and the 175 not really taking off as well too. So an interesting move for the FTK Promotions, Nate, to add the KZ category.
Yeah. And I think when you do one of these one-off races that kind of allows you to experiment with engine packages and classes a bit more than having to have people commit to a full season and trying to get people to run that, especially on a traveling series weekend and week out. So I think, yeah, you can kind of experiment a little bit, test the waters a bit easier and not as detrimentally as you would if you were trying to do a multi-round regional series.
Yeah, so we'll see how that's welcomed when we get to the Pat's Acres Racing Complex on July 14th through the 16th, and we'll be there trackside to provide live coverage all weekend long of the event. Again, camping available all week and all weekend, including a Friday night concert following the on-track sessions for Friday practice. Head to challengekarting.com for all the notes and news and registration information to get yourself being at Rock the Park this year. The only other really update going on in the world of karting here in North America or the U.S. is WKA is changing the date and venue for the next Southern Gold Cup round. They will be changing the June 2nd through the 4th event to June 23rd to the 25th and heading to the 103rd Street Sports Complex in Jacksonville, Florida. And that'll move the July 14th to 16th event set for Carolina Motorsports Park. So that's due to multiple events scheduled at the start of June for forcing that change for the WKA program. There was one bit of news that just came in as we're getting set to record, was Sodi Racing USA adding Pasha Ali as a micro Swift driver to their tent. So the PK Sports Sodi Racing USA stable continues to grow, adding Pasha Ali, a micro Swift driver, to the roster. And we're hearing word that they're going to be adding some dealers as well. So hopefully next week we'll be able to talk about some more of the new dealers for the Sodi Racing USA, Nate, as that brand is really making an impact here in 2023.
Yeah, and more on the Pasha side, he's been really climbing up the field for what events he run. He was fairly strong in the SCUSA Winter Series, and then has continued, should say, to build upon that pace, and it should be interesting to see how he does on the Sodi Kart brand. Sodi Kart still being fairly new in the US, especially in the micro and mini categories, so that could be a challenge for them. But to be honest, I think they have a fairly decent driver to spearhead that program, along with some other good ones in the national scene. So it's a big win for Sodi on that one.
Yeah, Pasha in a second season in the micro division after racing kid karts before that. So yeah, again, that's kind of what the tale of the micro category throughout the country is some of these drivers just slowly getting more accustomed to racing at the big events and getting better and better throughout the weekend. So we'll be continuing to watch Ali and the Sodi Racing USA PK Sports operation moving forward. With that, we'll head into our first commercial break, and we'll have a Where to Race This Weekend segment after these commercials.
If you're a karter in the Lone Star State, make the jump from the club level and race against the best in the country at the Texas Sprint Racing Series. The premier regional kart racing series in Texas is a 5-race program in 2023, featuring 4 different tracks located all over the state. This year's program kicked off at the Speed Sports Racing Park in New Caney, Texas in March with a record turnout. Next up is Racing Under the Lights with a return to the North Texas Kartways in Denton, welcoming the series for night racing over the Memorial Day weekend on May 26 to 28. The third round of the TSRS travels to the Panhandle and the newly renamed Amarillo Kart Complex on the June 30th to July 2nd weekend. A track new to the series hosts round 4 as Rimrock Raceway in Odessa is set to make history on August 4th to 6th. The series championships will be decided on the September 15 to 17 weekend as the 5th and final round brings competitors back to the challenging Speed Sports facility in Houston. Details on the rules and class structure, along with a list of the full championship prize package for the official SuperKarts USA and International Kart Federation Series, can be found at TexasSprintSeries.com. Powered by technology, DID racing chains have a worldwide reputation for superior quality and reliability. Meticulously engineered and manufactured in Japan, DID genuine parts are the world's #1 original parts supplier for Japanese and European motorcycle manufacturers. A rich racing tradition where results speak for themselves, DID prides itself on engineering the most technologically advanced chains on the market to help you excel on and off the track. DID's SDH pin treatment creates an extremely hard chromium carbide layer on the pin's surface that houses a soft inner core to absorb extreme shock loads. DID's 219 HTZ racing chain boasts this SDH pin technology, which leads to longer chain life as well as excellent energy transmission to the wheels. Available in the gorgeous gold, the 219 HTZ is the ultimate racing kart chain. Pick up a DID chain at your local dealer today, because when winning is the only thing that matters, go with DID. The 2023 SuperKarts USA season is underway and making history in its 4th decade. A successful and record-setting SCUSA Winter Series began the season in Florida, welcoming over 250 entries in January before closing out the program in February to crown this year's champions. The 14th season of the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour is in progress, following the championship's first visit to the Orlando Kart Center for the Winter Nationals at the beginning of April. The attention now turns to a return to the Utah Motorsports campus in Erta, Utah for the Spring Nationals, scheduled for June 9, 10, and 11. The SCUSA Pro Tour wraps up for a 9th straight visit to Newcastle Motorsports Park in Newcastle, Indiana for the 14th edition of the Summer Nationals, moved up this year to the July 28, 29, 30 weekend. Regional racers are enjoying a strong start to the year at both the Texas Sprint Racing Series and the California Pro Kart Challenge programs, as both are in full swing for 2023. You can get all the information you need to compete at each program or learn more about the regional programs as well, all available at superkartsusa.com.
And welcome back to segment number 2 for This Week in Karting, episode number 63. It is May 16th, 2023. I'm David Cole, joined by Nate Dean as we bring you the major news and topics that are hitting the EKN homepage over the past week. Our last show was May 8th, so we are quick to bring you a new update and a new podcast here on the EKN Radio Network and a new segment. Without a lot of news coming in, we decided to put a little segment together called Where to Race This Weekend. And this is a busy weekend. I think that's one thing we're noticing about the month of May. It's actually warming up here in the Northern Hemisphere, Nate. I'm sure you're seeing the snow kind of finally melt away. I'm going outside in shorts and mowing the lawn, so things are warming up. That means it's race season up here in the northern part of the country. And but first, let's start out with Rock Sonoma round 3 at Sonoma Raceway. So they'll be getting into their 3rd round of the season. We'll also have the Northeast Karting Challenge. They'll be at the Raceway Park in New Jersey. But the Cup Karts North America program, they'll be heading to the Kart Circuit Autobahn division or Kart Circuit Autobahn facility for their 2nd event of the North Division. So that's going to be a big event, I think. A lot of the racers here in the Northern Hemisphere, they went to Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, and it was rainy. It was crappy weather. Hopefully this weekend, while they'll be in Joliet, Illinois, it'll be better weather for them there, as the Briggs racers here in the north are really excited to actually be closer to home and not have to travel south to go racing.
Yeah, for sure. Was there in Cincinnati for Cup Karts, and it was not fun. It was either cold or it was either downpouring. So not a fun experience. But yeah, Kart Circuit Autobahn has really been starting to step up. It seems like their karting game more and more, with more club races, more involvement outside of their walls. They're sponsoring a class in Route 66 that we'll talk about in a little bit in one of the 206 divisions. So that's just them continuing to build their support outwards in karting.
Yeah, Kart Circuit Autobahn just starting a new club series, welcoming public drivers. Again, it is a country club motorsports facility. They do have rental karts, but now they're starting to branch out with public kart racing events at the facility for weekend warriors, drivers who aren't looking to travel to big events. So I think they just had their opener last weekend in terms or in preparation for the Cup Karts event coming this weekend. So we'll have to get word on how that goes. But I know they'll have another one prior to the Route 66 Sprint Series heading there as well, or other events that go there. I don't think you guys go there. No, you don't go there. That's right.
Not this year.
I'm trying to think what's the other program that goes there. I can't remember. I'll come up with something. I'll figure it out later. But it is busy in the Midwest area for sure. The Ignite Challenge, they're going to be kicking off their 2023 season with the opening event at the Gateway Kartplex. So essentially the home track of Ignite Karting will be welcoming all the Ignite racers to the Gateway Kartplex in just outside St. Louis on the Illinois side. So again, still not quite in Missouri, but essentially Gateway Kartplex is considered St. Louis to many of those who are not from there. And the Ignite program, I mean, their Gateway local program is getting almost 100 racers all the way from kid karts up to the Masters division. So I got to expect the Ignite Challenge is going to be welcoming a number of drivers from different states, all going to Gateway to compete in the opener for the Ignite Challenge.
Yeah, and like you said, hitting that 100 mark for the tracks that aren't like on the mainstays of the U.S. karting calendars of like GoPro and Newcastle, those club races will get a fair few more. But for those local club tracks to get over 100 is a really solid result for anyone and really solid result for them. So that's good to see that karting community in that area is still starting to blossom a bit more. And Margay has done just so much for that series.
And it's a great foothold for the sport itself, because you're going to get drivers who will graduate. We already know a number of drivers that have graduated from Ignite Karting to the other categories and other series within the sport of karting, or even into cars. Where we see Evan Stammer and others moving into the other forms of motorsports, getting their start at Ignite. So excited to see that. So again, this weekend at Gateway, you could see for a future IndyCar driver, future IMSA driver, future NASCAR driver. You never know. So that'll be interesting to see. But same thing could be said about the Route 66 Sprint Series. We know we've seen a number of drivers come up through that historic program. Nate, you will be there at Newcastle Motorsports Park this weekend to welcome in and announce the opening round, I should say. That's right. It's only one round now of the Route 66 Sprint Series.
Yeah, a lot of change. The only thing that stayed the same is pretty much that we're starting the season at Newcastle and it's called Route 66. But other than that, a ton of new things, from the tire rules to qualifying format to like you said, the one final per weekend format. So that should be incredibly interesting to see how that works out. I'm excited to call that alongside Carter Pease, who I ran with under AMK for the longest time. Just ready to get down there, not ready for the 10-11 hour drive, but looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah, it's a bit of a haul to get back down to Indiana for you guys. And Carter, also the former voice of the Rock Island Grand Prix. So we were able to have him on ECAN Live. So he has the experience of announcing, does a great job with a lot of the social media stuff that he works with and his racing development side of things. So that should be a good weekend. And I haven't looked. What's the weather looking like for you guys down there?
I don't want to jinx it. I don't think. I think if there was going to be rain, I would have heard about that by now. Newcastle looks decent weather. It's not fully loading, but hopefully no rain. We'll just put it at that.
There you go. Yeah, as long as there's no rain on Saturday and Sunday, you guys will be fine, I think.
Oh yeah.
And you guys are running the national layout as well, so something that the program hasn't done in a few years. So again, back to basics and a fun weekend planned for the Route 66 Sprint Series this weekend at Newcastle Motorsports Park. So with that, we'll head into our second and final commercial break, and we'll kind of break down a little bit of what's been on the ECAN website and what you can listen to and view or hear. And stuff that we've been able to produce over the last week. So we'll be back after these commercials.
Made in the USA. That's exactly what you get from Precision Karting Technologies. Based in Detroit, Michigan, PKT brings over 35 years of manufacturing experience to the sport of karting. Their passion for the sport began focusing around the Kid Kart platform and has expanded every year with hundreds of products designed to put you on the podium. Precision Karting Technologies is known around North America for their successful line of axles, available in all age groups. PKT manufactures a number of engine products for Comer, IAME, Rock, Rotax, and the popular Briggs & Stratton 206. A wide variety of chassis components for the many brands in the sport are available through PKT, including hubs, pedal risers, skid plates, and other hardware for your kart. Axle straightening, chassis adjustments, engine service, and specific CNC machining projects are available through their Motor City headquarters. To learn more about the many products and services available from Precision Karting Technologies, head to pktaxles.com. What's the fastest growing category in North American karting? That's easy. 4-cycle racing and the Briggs 206. And what series is taking Briggs competition to the next level? That's easy too. Cup Karts North America. CKNA is also expanding, and in 2022 they launched a new Canada division under the guidance and ownership of veteran industry member Gerald Casely. After running a successful 2-weekend series last year, Cup Karts Canada is expanding to 3 weekends in 2023, and there is tremendous excitement and momentum. The opening race of the series is set for June 9th to the 11th at Karting Trois-Rivières in Quebec, and the drivers and teams will then head to Ottawa and Lombardy Raceway on July 7 to 9. The season finale will invade the iconic Goodwood Kart Race on the August 4th to 6th long weekend, when the championships will be decided. Cup Karts Canada is dedicated to Briggs 206 4-cycle competition with a focus on quality racing and putting fun back into sport. To learn more, connect with Cup Karts Canada on Facebook.
Wins in the sport's biggest races and championships in national and regional series all over the country, they're all on Nitro Kart's growing resume. Nitro Kart continues to make its statement as the best, fastest, and winningest cadet chassis on the American market. In 2021, Nitro Kart won the 3 biggest crowns in America in the Microswift division, with Mateo Rosu in the SCUSA Pro Tour and both the Super Nationals and the USPKS titles with Keelan Harvick. At the Super Nats alone, 3 of the top 5 drivers on the podium got there on a Nitro Kart. The results are clear. If you want to win in cadet, get a Nitro Kart and join our team. At Nitro Kart, we're all about driver development. Nick Tucker and the Nitro Crew's racing resumes are extensive, and their passion for helping our kids learn is unparalleled. Racing is about consistent learning, and that's what we're all about here at Nitro Kart. Never wanting to quit, we've continued to extend the reach of our driver development program. In addition to expanding into the junior and senior karting categories, we've also launched Nitro Motorsports, which will field 2 cars this season in the Trans Am by Pirelli series, one being piloted by karting champion Brent Cruz. Not only can we develop your young driver, but we can also provide the platform if a move to cars is in your plan. And our second seat is available. If you're serious about your driver's career, contact us today.
And welcome back to the final segment of This Week in Karting, episode number 63. It is May 16th, 2023. I'm David Cole, joined by Nate Dean as we bring you episode 63 presented by Margay Racing. All the news and notes surrounding the sport, and we're into our third segment, which is kind of the stuff that we've been able to put up on the eCan website or the under the umbrella of ekartingnews.com. We'll start with the eCan editorial section of this program of this segment. Late night last night. Product spotlight: Precision Karting Technologies rear wheel hubs. They've been able to produce a new hub designed for 4-cycle racing, a 40 by 50 millimeter hub. So it's a little bit longer hub than they've already produced. They have a 40 by 35. So now they have 2 different options available. Again, that's the one thing, Nate, about 4-cycle racing. There's a lot of work to be done around the chassis, because that's really where you're going to find that extra 1/10 or 2. If it's not you yourself, the driver, it's the chassis. Am I correct in that?
You're very correct. It's a bit of a pain to tune a 4-cycle kart in PKT. Has made it that much easier.
Well, again, you got to have different options. Obviously you have with Cup Karts North America, you have the same tire everywhere you go, but you have different racetracks. Some are tighter, some are longer, some are just have bad surfaces, some have really good surfaces. So you have to adjust based on all the different elements and conditions that you run into. And certainly, short hub or a long hub, it is a bit of a change, and there's different characteristics depending on the chassis that you're on, and it'll be able to produce whether you need less grip or more grip. So that's always a great option to have. And again, lots of different options at Precision Karting Technologies, where they have a number of different components and products available for you on their new website that they've just been able to update. So head to pktaxles.com for that. We produced the race report for the California Pro Kart Challenge. They held their second event of the season. That was, again, at the Buttonwillow Raceway Park. So clockwise one way, counterclockwise the next time. And again, a lot of good racing that went on over there in California. Just under 100 entries for that program in the 7 categories that they had competing. And we also just produced yesterday the ECAN Driver of the Month for April of 2023. Aiden Levy was the double winner in the KA100 Senior Division at the Superkarts USA Pro Tour Winter Nationals at Orlando Kart Center. Nate, you were firsthand for that, and you said this performance certainly deemed to be Driver of the Month.
Yeah, it's one of those. If it's not, I don't know what is, because especially with the strength of that field in KA100 Senior for the final weekend of the stretch that they were at Orlando Kart Center. So everyone's acclimatized to the track. Everyone knows the track like the back of their hand at that point. And for him to still just walk away with it in the manner that he did was an incredible job from him. It showed his pace was true from earlier on in the season at the Winter Tour, at USPKS, and other events that he competed in. But all in all, just a really, really solid drive to start off his Pro Tour campaign.
Well, not to mention a spin and win. He had a spin in the pre-final and came back and drove his way up to the front. I think he came from 14th on the grid all the way up to the front of the field in the main event. Got just edged out for the victory on track, but was given the top step of the podium following penalties. So he picked up his first Pro Tour victory because of a penalty, but then, as you said, backed it up with a dominant performance, sweeping the action on Sunday to earn that one wholesale on Sunday, driving away, sweeping the entire day. So it was a great performance, and he's sitting second in the championship for United States Pro Kart Series, just outside the top 5 there at the Texas Grand Prix at Speed Sports Racing Park, but defended his home turf of Trackhouse Motorplex by winning just recently the Stars Championship Series event there in the KA100 division. So Aiden certainly got the momentum on his side, and I think a lot of it has to do with confidence. It's been a couple of years that he's been in this category. Now just turned 18. I think he now understands that he has the confidence to go into an event and know he's going to be one of the quick drivers right away. Yeah,
that's one of the things we see with when drivers get either their first national podium or their first national win. It's kind of them teetering and getting really close to it. And then once they do finally achieve that, it's like they're staying up there for the rest of the season. And it's one of those things we saw is with an extreme case of like Ernesto Rivera, with him winning the Super Nationals. And since then, he's just been an unstoppable force in 125 divisions, no matter what that engine would be.
Even the 100cc stuff that Ernesto's been able to win at. So again, he's got 4 wins in 4 races at the United States Pro Kart Series. So that certainly bodes well for him. Let's head into the ECAN. He was an honorable mention as well for April. I think he could be honorable mention for every single month that we've had so far. So that kind of goes to his favor. Going to the ECAN podcast review. Again, the past episode, This Week in Karting, episode number 62 from May 8th, 2023 is available for download and also the audio version of Face to Face episode 70, Cup Karts North America, featuring Greg Jasperson of CKNA, along with Gerald Kasling from Cup Karts North America, Canada. So again, get those podcasts or any podcasts that we've been. I think we're getting close to 400 now podcasts that we've recorded over our time. You can download them through iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, or any other podcast outlets that you get yours. So make sure you, again, look for ekartingnews.com, ECAN Radio Network, or Karting itself. This episode of This Week in Karting will be playing on the ECAN Radio Network on Wednesday. So all day Wednesday, be sure to listen if you're not already listening to this or any of the shows that we play on the only 24-hour, 7 days a week karting channel in the world. We'll continue to be playing our USPKS SCUSA Pro Tour live rewinds. We'll try and mix some other things in, but we're going to have more hot seats, more first face-to-face episodes coming as well on the ECAN Radio Network. So make sure you download the app if you haven't already. Again, you can go to App Store and download ECAN Radio Network. Google Play as well. I believe that's one thing we're still kind of working on. Do you know anybody with an Android? Everybody I know mostly has iPhones.
I really don't.
Okay, it's good. So if you have an Android, contact us. Tell us if you can get the ECAN Radio Network or not, because that's the one thing we hear people can't get it, but then we hear people are on it. So again, let us know if you can't. It will get you pointed in the right direction, or we'll get you get it fixed and working for you guys. What's coming up on EKN? Again, I'm home all through the month of May. I might head to a race here in the next weekend or two, depending on how things are going here at home. But our next trackside event will be June 9th through the 11th, where Rob Howden will be at the Superkarts USA Pro Tour Spring Nationals. That'll be held at the Utah Motorsports Campus in Erta, Utah. And right now, today, we're actually playing the 2021 version of the Spring Nationals from Utah. So you can listen to that on EKN Radio Network right now. Spring Nationals, yeah, that's going to be an interesting event. Again, it could be cold, it could be warm, could be windy, could be not windy. You just never quite know what kind of weather you're going to get in Utah, but I would expect to see some exciting racing in the majority of the categories going there that weekend. Nate, what category do you think is going to probably be the one to watch coming off the Winter Nationals?
I mean, it's still going to be X30 Senior, doesn't it? With just all of the excitement and all of the hype around that class as of late, just within SCUSA for USPKS Pro Shifter too, with the dominant performance Musgrave had on Sunday. It'll be interesting to see the KZ versus Iami battle for there at Utah, because of another thing too that we kind of mentioned when we were there was just how tight and technical Orlando was, and that kind of suiting some drivers. Now we're going into Utah and Newcastle for the final 2 weekends of the Pro Tour series, where it's a lot more high speed horsepower track. So it'll be interesting to see if that suits some teams, chassis, and drivers more than others.
It certainly is. Utah with a long front straightaway, and then you have the long, essentially back straightaway with the bus stop. It's a very high speed racetrack, not a very technical one. So again, you still got to have the right chassis, still got to make sure the right changes are being done. But I think power is going to be key that weekend, no matter what category you're in. So the draft will be huge, and certainly the KA categories, and then of course the cadet divisions. So if you can be able to stay in the draft and set yourself up for a final lap pass, I think that's going to be key throughout the weekend in Utah. Then a couple weeks later, I will be heading to the United States Pro Kart Series Indiana Grand Prix. That'll be held on June 23rd through the 25th. That'll be at the Newcastle Motorsports Park in Newcastle, Indiana. So that'll be, as we said, horsepower. You certainly have to have horsepower when you head to the Newcastle Motorsports Park. No track layout announced yet for Newcastle for the United States Pro Kart Series. So that's going to be interesting. I'm in the favor. I love going the reverse direction at that. I know you're going to be heading there this weekend, going the national, because you guys, Route 66 has gone reverse for a number of times over the last couple of years. I'm interested to see what layout United States Pro Kart Series goes with this year, because they've done a number of different layouts. For me, again, I think reverse is going to be best. I don't know if that's the direction they're going to go. Maybe they'll go back to being just on the national layout. I think that's going to be a kind of a telling point, or not necessarily a telling point, but a turning point in terms of who's going to be able to perform well. Some people just can't do the reverse, as we've noticed over the last couple of years. Yes, you're still going to have some of the faster guys, but some just aren't able to adapt to it. I think, going one direction for how many years now, since 2003 that we've been going to Newcastle, and you go reverse, it throws a little mindset on some of these drivers, because they get used to certain ways and certain things.
Yeah. It's just having to learn another track. Sometimes you just have to throw away the thought that you think this track and just start from zero again. And maybe that's some of the issues or challenges that some people face when you go at opposite direction at a track you already know. But like you said, for track direction, you haven't heard anything. There's no rumblings of a certain direction more than the other. Of course, they went the regular nationals, we'll call it, direction from last year. SCUSA went in reverse, with Route 66 going national normal direction. You never know. Maybe they'll try and switch it up because of that. You don't know. Maybe we'll see something interesting. Maybe we'll see the return of the ski jump. Who knows? But definitely looking back forward to it.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do the ski jump. I think that's more Probably of a SCUSA thing. I don't know. Which direction did they go last year? I'm gonna take a look here. It looks like they went reverse. Yeah, but I don't think they did the. Did they do the Monza? I'm trying to look back at some of the photos. I don't quite remember them doing the Monza there. But
for USPKS?
Yeah, for USPKS, I think they just went straight through. Yeah, so just the national layout backwards. So I think that's all they did. So yeah, again, I liked it. I think it adds a different element in terms of racecraft, because you're drafting at the beginning of the lap rather than at the second half of the lap like you do in the normal national direction. So maybe that's a different game changer as well too, because it's hard. I think racecraft. I think we saw contact, a little bit more contact than we typically see in the back part. Cell tower section, because you're coming up into the final few corners. It's like, hey, I got to make a move now, or I'm not going to be able to make it happen. To where when you run in the normal direction of national layout, you can get through the cell tower, draft your way, and then make the move at either I-70 or draft to the checkered flag. So it certainly has a different game plan for drivers in which direction they do go, or which track layout they're going to go with. So that'll be interesting to see. We'll have to keep an eye out, and of course, we'll let you know once we know which direction they're going to be heading in and what track layout they're going to be heading into for the June 23rd through 25th event. So with that, any closing remarks, Nate, as you get ready to head down to Newcastle yourself for the Route 66 program?
Looking forward to the drive.
Hey, you'll be able to work. I mean, right? Or are you behind the wheel the whole way?
I'm behind the wheel for at least half of it.
So do you prefer that, or do you like being a passenger?
I can sleep pretty much anywhere, so I am A-okay being driven to racetracks. So, but hey.
I'm 44 years old. Literally, when we went to Mid Ohio, I fell asleep in the passenger seat as soon as we got to the gate. So, as my dad drove home, it was amazing. But that's something like nobody in my family, my wife or my kids, they cannot sleep in cars. And I'm like, dude, you guys just don't know, man. Sleeping in a car is the greatest thing of all time. I guess they just haven't been to the racetrack enough. Maybe that's what it is. All right, Nate. Well, not congrats, but safe travels for you as you head down to Newcastle. And again, thank you everyone for tuning in for another episode of This Week in Karting, as we'll have another one for you next week and give you some more news and notes, as I'm sure there'll be some breaking news or other things coming on as we get closer and closer to the month of June. So more things are going to start to amp up here for the season. It's kind of the rest season right now for the sport of karting here in North America. So with that, thank you again for tuning in, and until next time.